We have access to more tools, more information, and more convenience than any generation in history. Yet, even with all this utility, the digital world often feels like a crushing weight, a space where we vent our frustrations when pressure rises. NSND Bactwit is 80 years old. She has remained a household name for over 6 decades, not by clinging to the past, but by maintaining a presence that younger generations still find vibrant and relevant. That longevity was forged through extreme displacement. At 8 years old, she lost her mother in a sudden accident. She later performed through the urban warfare of the late 60s and navigated the trials of single motherhood while the world around her was in constant flux. By any standard metric of trauma, she should be defined by these events. Instead, she approaches her life with a startling lack of what we would typically call suffering. Her resilience comes from a very specific perspective. She views the universe as a mechanical system operating on a set of fixed rules. To her, life isn't an unpredictable attacker. It's a machine that came with a manual she spent 80 years learning to read. The first rule in this manual is the law of cycles. The universe mandates alternating periods of stability and upheaval, what she describes as 6 months of calm waters, followed by 6 months of storms. This isn't just a metaphor for hardship, it's an ecological necessity. Without the violent churn of a storm, the atmosphere becomes stagnant, allowing toxins to settle. The chaos is what actually keeps the system breathable. Recognizing turbulence as a required function of the system changes how you respond to it. When the storm arrives, she doesn't treat it as a personal attack or a surprise. She treats it as a cue to stop complaining and start looking for a solution. But the manual doesn't just cover the external environment. The second rule turns inward, focusing on the specific neurobiology of the human brain. Our brains contain roughly 14 billion neurons, conceptualized as a 60-40 split. 60% represent positive, constructive impulses, the bodhisattvas. The remaining 40% are negative impulses, the demons. Dwelling on anger feeds that 40%, pulsing negative energy and affecting your internal state. This suggests that speaking kindly isn't just a moral choice, it's a way to keep the dominant 60% of your neural impulses healthy. By refusing to feed the demons, you prevent the kind of internal friction that leads to long-term decay. This leads to the third rule, the law of continuous motion. Anything with a physical form that remains unused for too long will inevitably begin to rot. Look at an abandoned house. Even if it's made of stone and steel, the moment human energy stops flowing through it, the structure begins to fail. It becomes a hollow space, more susceptible to the elements. The same law applies to our mental health. When faced with despair, the most dangerous reaction is to stay completely still. Physical and mental isolation accelerates the rot. She advocates for motion as a way to force a shift in internal energy. Even a small task like sweeping a dirty floor or simply standing up to move to another room breaks the cycle of stagnation. Continuous movement keeps you integrated with the universal machine. It generates the energy required to stay functional and clear-headed, even when the external weather is at its worst. These rules, the cycles, the neural balance, and the need for motion, all converge in the most basic human act, the breath. Breathing is a mandatory, continuous exchange with the universe. You take in what is necessary, and you immediately expel what is not. It is the ultimate form of motion. By following these internal rules, you keep that exchange efficient. You learn that self-preservation isn't about hoarding energy, but about staying in sync with the system's natural flow. The lesson here is to stop waiting for life to become easy or for someone else to provide the answers. The machine is already running. The only question is how you choose to operate it. Consider the desert island test. If you were stranded tomorrow with no clear way home, how would you react? Waiting for rescue is a passive gamble. The stronger response is to start moving, to search for a new path, a different way down the mountain, or a better vantage point. There is a Vietnamese proverb that summarizes this perfectly. Gon za long mok, gon choi nait kai. As long as the skin remains, hair grows. As long as the bud remains, the tree sprouts. Resilience isn't about avoiding the storm. It's about understanding the rules of the machine so well that when the 6 months of winter arrive, you don't suffer, you simply adjust.